All right, let's talk about testimonials, testimonial video part 2. Let's review the basic elements of a testimonial. So, as you've probably seen most testimonials, the testimonials that you're most likely making have 2 parts: before and after. That's pretty standard setup. You know, there's some basic, here's how I was before, here's how my life was, and afterwards, this. But a great sticky testimonial that really will connect and tell a story needs more parts than that. So we're going to start by breaking down the 5 elements, there's 5, of every single video or written testimonial that you could take. Which, by the way, absolutely, you could do this in a written format. You could do this as a video. You could do it as an edited video. You could do it as a just live shot video like this. Depends on how prepared your subject is. I would suggest reviewing these things and having a plan with your testimonial subject before you carry on. But what are the elements you're looking for? Let's break it down. The first element of every great testimonial is what we started with, the before. You need to be able to paint a clear picture of what is the world of the subject, the person that we're talking about, before they interacted with you or your product or your services, whatever it is that you did. We need to see that. So we need to understand what it was like and what was happening before they interacted with your product. And that's important so that we can see the contrast of what it's like afterwards. And it is also important for the second reason, which is that the hero, the person who the testimony is about, the story is about, needs to be relatable. Now, that doesn't mean they have to be exactly like the rest of your audience. We all have something special about us. We're all, special snowflakes. But the relatability part comes when, as the story is progressing, or even as the story begins, we see things in the person who the testimony is about that we relate to. And those things are that they're struggling, that they are trying to find the right path, that they're uncertain, and that they have the same issues and hopes and dreams as you. Even though they themselves might be different, that whatever it is that they're getting from your product is kind of a universal thing. So be sure to vet that when you're looking at who to choose for a testimonial. People who have maybe not a specific problem that everybody has, but a way of expressing it that's generalized enough that you think that the bulk of your audience can relate to it, or at least cover your different kinds of customers with testimonials. The third element you need for every video is what I call in storytelling world, right? That's the lens we're using, the messy middle. Now, the messy middle is the number one thing that I see missing from testimonials, written testimonials, video testimonials, all kinds of testimonials. What's the messy middle? The messy middle is the part of the story where we acknowledge that the solution doesn't come without some kind of price. That price might be uncertainty. That price might be that it took some time. That price might be that it was some work. The price might be that you had to invest financially, resource-wise, whatever it was. And it's not about woe is me, this is so hard moment. It's more of a, this is what it really takes to do this. This is what I went through. I did struggle. I was confused. I didn't, I had to sort it out, because that's the part of the story that we relate to. So, for example, I once had a mentor who used to talk about his meditation practice, and he would describe these incredible, truly miraculous results he would get from his meditation. And he had this amazing story of transformative life experience from meditation. And he would tell the story, and I would just think, man, I wish I could meditate like that. And I would try to meditate, and it would be nothing like that. And I would think, he's just so on another plane than me, on another planet than me. And while I admired and was impressed by it, it actually kind of made me feel like I was terrible at meditation, and that maybe meditation wasn't for me. And then one day I heard him tell a version of the story in which he described when he first started meditating and how nothing was happening. And nothing was changing, and it was hard, and it was laborious, and he was uncertain, and he was struggling, and that he continued on because he knew that it was the right way. It was a great way to solve the issue he had, and he persevered, and he pushed through, and eventually one day there was a period of time in which it felt like progress, but it wasn't the whole time he was meditating, because he was meditating for hours a day. And then, the next day he did it, and the next day he did it, and slowly he started to have more flow periods, as he would describe them. And finally he reached a point where he could pretty easily get into a flow state, and that's when he started getting the results. That part of his story, his testimonial about meditation, was life-changing for me and made me so inspired now to start on my own journey of learning to meditate. That's the kind of elements we need to see in our testimonials. We need to see the journey, because that's what we as the audience relate to, because we're on the same journey. And when we see somebody who just seems to sail through that journey, well, it doesn't give us necessarily a bad idea. We don't connect to it. So that messy middle is a critical part of every testimonial. And eliciting it sometimes is a little bit of work of really getting your person who is your testimony to find that place, because we tend to kind of forget our messy middles, I think. I think it's just very common for people to skip over the messy middle. The fourth element of every testimonial is we need to have a really powerful after. What happened afterwards? How is life different? And as much as possible to contrast it with the before, and to put those two pieces together and to be able to see, remember how before this and now it's like this, and take them back and forth and show that contrast in the testimonial, especially things that are related to what is the universal truth behind the testimony. And then the fifth element of every great testimonial is a call to action. We go through all of this great story, we explain what someone has done, and then sometimes we forget to tell our audience how they can look into more information, find out more, or take the first step on their journey along a similar path. Now, that call to action can be anything from more information, maybe a webinar, maybe a free offer for, an opportunity to experiment with whatever service or product you're providing, a coupon code, whatever that thing is. But make sure that you're ending a testimonial, and this doesn't have to be the person who's giving the testimony isn't going to do this. This is going to be your insertion, right? So if it's a written piece, then at the end in your own language, you're saying, here's how you can find out more, or take the first steps yourself. Or in a video, you'd put in a screenshot, a graphic that would say that. Those are the elements of every powerful testimonial. Even if they're little snippets, those bits, I would really advise you to look at your testimonials and find a place to make sure all 5 things are there, and your testimonials will start to move people much farther. Now, our next video, we're going to break down what kind of questions can you ask someone to elicit those elements, and we're going to do that in maybe 2 or possibly 3 videos. So if you're enjoying this, look for the next several videos to find out what questions can I ask people in a written form or in an interview, or to prep them so that they will be ready to answer those elements that we just discussed. See you soon!